So this is a quick install, or how I installed my Master Tailgaters 10-inch digital rearview mirror. So this whole thing is actually the display. So you can switch between, well, it's looking at my cover right now, but the front camera and the rear camera. So it's much better view than what you would get from the same viewpoint looking out the back. So there, for example, is what you would see in my traditional rearview mirror. Not very good. So here, we'll actually hold this up if I can reach it. So this is about from my head viewpoint, and there is the original mirror, which I can aim. There you go. Well, I'm a little shaky, but so there's the view of what you see out of the traditional mirror. A lot more of just, especially if someone's sitting in the back. If you have someone sitting in the middle of the back, you basically just see their face rather than what's behind you. Where this actually looks all the way past. So that is a pretty cool option. The setup is really simple. So if you have a standard V-mount like this guy, then let me see, inside their kit that they give you, they do give you another one. I must have dropped it in the house. But it's a little metal puck. And so under your mirror, you will see a little Torx. They give you a little wrench with a Torx. You loosen this set screw. The mirror doesn't fall off. You slide it upwards, and then it comes off. Then you slide this one on, and you tighten down the set screw that's already in this one. And that is about it. Then behind here, it comes with a little plastic cover. And so for the plastic cover, that is covering the wiring that's coming out of the back. So if you look at the back of the camera, you can see the wire back there and the camera lens. So that's the front camera lens right there. There's a little clip that goes over that centerpiece, holds the wire in place. I just haven't put that on yet. So then from there, what I did is I took out my center console up here. This is very easy. If you actually look inside this guy, so this is where it would go, is right there. There is the two spots for the two screws, which are 8mm bolts. And then there's the little tabs right here and right here that you just push, and then it releases it and it comes down. Mine, since it's a tradesman, only has two connections. It has for the rear window and the lights. So this is where I was able to get the power. I don't like to use an off-the-shelf tap, so what I did is I actually slightly stripped the wire back. I wanted to make a removable harness, but didn't have the time to. So I actually stripped the wire back, and this one uses the, I do not remember. Just a minute and I'll pull this tape off so I can show you exactly which wire it was. Okay, so on this one I use the blue and white, which is the B plus terminal. This actually goes to the lights, is what this connector is for. And then the other connector is for the rear view mirror, or the rear window. And so these, I did the red to the red with yellow stripe, and the black to the black. These I have little brass crimps, so I did a brass crimp in there, and then just did electrical tape because I didn't want to pull this out of the socket to be able to put shrink tube on there. So I just did electrical tape. That provides the switched power because the rear window is controlled by the key and the ground. I use this ground on this one rather than this because this is a heavier ground, and I like using the heaviest wire possible. Then from there, a bunch of the wiring is just stuffed up in here. because they give you a lot of wiring. And then I pulled the back, the third brake light, which is just outside the window. It's basically right there. And I have a wire snake. So when I pulled the third brake light off, I ran the wire snake up over the headliner, and it came out right here. And then I just taped the camera wire to it and then pulled it all the way through the back and connected the camera. So it was a very simple setup. The hardest part was actually tracing these wires down. So basically what I did was I set up the truck into two different modes. One is how it is now in auxiliary, and that gives me the live power over here. And then the other is I shut it off and left my multimeter connected to this wire to make sure that this wasn't on a time delay shut off or something like that. And so this wire stayed hot for over 30 minutes. So that should be fine for that. And the camera hasn't had any issues. So that's where I tapped into. This mirror doesn't really draw too much power. And then, so I have two bundles of cable now. So one is this guy and the fuse. So there's a fuse block for both powers. So both of them right there. So I just tucked them up in there. If they start rattling, I'll put some foam tape around them. So the bundle that normally goes down to your fuse block area in most vehicles is up here, as well as most of the cabling to run back to the camera. Because the cable back to the camera is like 20 feet. So I just have it running in right here. And that was about it. Once this is installed, the adjustments on it are the same as the factory mirror, except it does have one more ball right back here. So what I did was I actually adjusted the arm how I wanted before putting the mirror up there. I didn't feel comfortable yanking on the windshield mount a lot to get this really adjusted. So I adjusted it how I wanted first, then put it on there, and then did the final tweaking once it was up there, so I'm not moving too much. Then all it is plug these two guys back in, put the panel back up there, and it's installed. And then you get to enjoy the rear view mirror. And if you leave the backup wire off of this guy, of the camera, then it won't auto switch. So mine does not auto switch at all. It is always rear view mirror unless I select the front camera. The rest of the time, it is rear view mirror only. And there are quite a few little things about this mirror that are nice. For example, I don't need to install a in-bed camera, which my wonderful little radio currently does not have. But even if I go to the 8.4 inch screen, I don't need the in-bed camera because I can actually just take this guy. And it's not tilting down. It's taking a sample of the footage. Because the screen is so narrow, the camera footage is very large. So it's actually just taking a slice of that footage and displaying it up here. So depending on what angle you set this to is really just what you're planning on looking at. And then you do have, like I mentioned, all the controls are touchscreen, or not touchscreen, touch frame. So I can actually pause the recording here. I can go into my settings. I can scroll through all the settings. And I'm not touching the glass, I'm touching the lower here. Well, if I stop touching multiple spots. So you can go through all kinds of different settings. So park record time, protection level, that's for on impact it locks a file. Park monitoring, there's all kinds of options. I'm not going to dig through all of those. But you can also play back footage. So for example, well, it's starting to record again. You can play back footage in the mirror or on the app. But that should get the gist of the installation. If anyone does have any questions, definitely let me know.